In this video, I'm going to break down how a wholesale deal closes from start to finish, not just a picture of a check, the entire step-by-step process. And this isn't some theoretical breakdown. This is based on the systems that I have used to close deals, and many of my other students, just to name a few. JJ, a 17-year-old, has closed over 10 deals, all before he turned 18 years old. Another one of my students, Rosalie, she's under contract with 3 properties right now. She just started working with us a couple months ago, and all of those are going to be $10,000 plus assignments. By the end of this video, you'll understand how closing a wholesale deal actually works in the real world, why having the right buyer network makes all the difference, and how to structure deals correctly so they don't fall out of contract like most beginners experience. If you've been wondering what happens behind the scenes of a successful wholesale deal, this is it. Let's get straight into it. Let me start by explaining what wholesaling actually is, because there's so much bullshit out there about this. At its core, wholesaling is simple. You find a good deal and you pass it off to an investor. That is it. You're not buying the house, you're not fixing anything, you're getting it under contract and flipping that contract to an end buyer. The reason it works is because you're bringing rich people investments that will make them money in the long run. So they'll pay you up front. So they win long term and you win short term. And here's what makes it powerful. There's no license needed, there's no credit needed, there's not a lot of upfront capital needed, and there's definitely not experience needed. You just need hustle, the right systems, a Wi-Fi connection, and the will to make this work. If you can find good opportunities, you can print checks. But here's where most people mess up. They think they can find a cheap property and then hoping someone will buy it. That is gambling, not business. So here are the two different models. There's traditional wholesaling and there's secured wholesaling. Let me show you why most wholesalers fail and what actually works. Let's start with traditional wholesaling. Most people follow this broken process. You go and you find a motivated seller, you lock up the property, then you scramble to find a buyer. Does that sound familiar? This is exactly what happened to me 5+ times before I closed my first ever deal. I kept getting properties under contract, I couldn't find a buyer, I got stressed out, the sellers got mad at me, I lost momentum, had to cancel the deal, and I almost quit multiple times. The reality is, this is gambling. You're signing a contract and making this big commitment before even knowing if you have any buyers. Now let's talk about the model that I use, secured wholesale. This flips the entire business on its head. Instead of finding the property first, you go and you find the buyer first. So here's the process. You build relationships with deep-pocketed investors, you go and get their criteria, so exactly what they're looking for, then you only look for those deals, and you do not waste your time on anything else. I hate nothing more than wasting my time, so this is the strategy that I follow. Once you find a property that matches criteria, you go pre-sell them the deal before you even get it under contract. This way you know what's going to get sold. Once they give you the green light, then you go lock it up. This approach is faster, safer, and eliminates the #1 reason why most wholesalers fail: wasting time on deals nobody wants. All right, so let's get into the step-by-step of how you can actually start doing this today to start making good money yourself. Step 1, building your buyer network. Buyer relationships are literally your business. Without this, you are just gambling on every deal. So let's talk about how you can find real buyers. I'm gonna give you 3 different methods to find buyers, and all of them are free. Number 1, finding buyers in Discord groups. This might sound stupid, but it's actually how I found my mentor and my main buyer. Number 2, you can do Facebook groups where you can literally just look up wholesalers or real estate investing or wholesale real estate in the city that you're looking in. And number 3, JVing with other wholesalers who already have the buyer connections and the buyer network, like me. When you reach out, keep it simple. You can literally say, hey, I'm a wholesaler in blank city and I specialize in finding off-market deals for investors. What type of deals are you actively buying right now? You're not trying to sell them anything, you're trying to understand what they buy. Now that you know where to find these buyers, here's 5 things that you can look out for to figure out which ones are good and which ones are the phonies. Number 1, they have proof of funds ready. Number 2, they give you a specific criteria, so actual deals that they want in specific areas, not just any good deal works. Timeline of when they look to close the deals, showing you that they have closed deals recently, and they respond quickly to good opportunities. Key is building real relationships. Any one of these people can be your business partner, your friend, or even your mentor. That is exactly what happened to me when I was starting. I was completely lost and I found my mentor who changed my life just in a Discord group. Step 2, understanding buy boxes. Every serious buyer has a specific buy box. This is exactly what they're looking for. Some will be wanting fix and flips, some will be wanting cash flow rentals, and some will be wanting even creative finance deals. Your job is to understand these buy boxes inside and out. When I work with a buyer, I know their exact criteria. So any deal that comes in, I know if they want it or not. This will be the prices they're comfortable with, the condition, the timeline, the areas, and even financing preference. This is game changing because instead of guessing what people want, you're just reverse engineering every deal. Step 3, lead generation that actually works. Now that you know exactly what your buyers want and you understand their buy box, you can go looking for deals strategically. So I'm going to give you different free methods and paid methods to find off-market and on-market motivated sellers that be willing to make a good deal for you guys. Number 1, the Zillow strategy. Most people still think you can't wholesale on market, and it all just depends on your buyer's buy box. If they're looking for creative financing or they just need a big discount, you can lowball the fuck out of people on Zillow and it will eventually hit. Or you can pitch creative finance to deals that have been on market for a long time, and it does work. That is how I closed my first ever deal and made my first $4,000 in real estate. This is by far the lowest barrier of entry method, but it does take time. Next is the county data method. This involves a little bit of searching, but is a super cool strategy. You can go to the county's website and just look at public records and find people that are behind on their taxes or people that are facing pre-foreclosure. And these are some of the most motivated sellers willing to take a big discount on their house. Next is JVing with someone, which is short for joint venture, which actually gave me a little bit of inspiration for my business name, Real Venture, because this is how I started and how most of my students close deals. They choose to JV with me. This means partnering up with someone who is ahead of you in the process. They might have no leads but locked in buyers, or they might have locked in leads but no buyers. And this way you can fill the missing piece and get paid 50-50 for it. Now let's move on to the paid methods. So first of all, you can use lead generation softwares, things like PropStream, DealSauce, XLeads. These will pull massive lists of motivated sellers and you can just bang out calls. Next is SMS campaigns / text blasting. This means getting a giant list of off-market properties and just text blasting all of them to screen for motivation. The goal here is volume. Next is a strategy that I really advocate for and my students have seen great success with. You can hire a virtual assistant to call off-market leads for you and they will only bring you the hot leads. There's different pricing options based on how much you want them to call, but you can get a full-time VA that will call every single day for you for about $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Lastly is paid advertising, and this is Facebook and Google ads. These are when you see those sell my house fast ads. Those are wholesalers. So people click on those, they fill out their information, and those are warm inbound leads. So those are super good deals, but it's really expensive and it's super competitive. So I recommend doing that once you're scaling. Whatever strategy you pick, the key is consistency. You want to be talking to at least 10 to 30 motivated sellers every single week. Step 4, identifying motivated sellers. Now you know where to find these properties, you need to figure out which ones are actually motivated because not everyone that owns a house is looking to sell. Your job is to find people with real reasons to sell quickly. So here are some common motivations. Financial distress or behind on payments is one of the biggest ones. Tired landlords, people that are just dealing with problem tenants and they're just tired of it. People that have a lot of repairs on their property that they can't afford. Job relocation, divorce, or even inherited properties. Step 5, the negotiation process. Here's how to structure offers that actually work. First things first is information gathering. Before you even think about making an offer, you need to understand property's condition, any repairs needed, the comparable properties in the area, so what the house is actually worth, maybe the ARV or the as-is value, and you need to understand the timeline of when they're looking to sell and any motivations they might have. And of course, most important, what price would actually work for your buyers. Next is structuring your offer. Of course, your offer needs to leave enough room for you and your buyer to profit. So let's just say, for example, your buyer wants a property that is 70% of the after repair value minus repairs minus your assignment. Let's say the property's ARV is $100,000. This means the after repair value of the house based on the comparable prices in the area is $100,000. This means the after repair value is $100,000, and that's taking the comparable houses in the area that sold for about $100K that are in similar condition, similar square footage, and taking that number of $100K, let's say that there's $10,000 of repairs and you want your assignment fee to be $10,000. That means that your offer can be $50,000 to the seller. So here's how the conversation should work. Don't just throw out numbers, you should negotiate and also explain how you came to that number. Explain the market, show repair estimates, and help them understand why the numbers work out the way they did. Focus on solving the seller's problems, not just getting the lowest price. Sometimes certainty, speed, and convenience is worth more than a couple $1,000s to them. Step 6, the pre-sale process. This is where secured wholesaling really gets powerful. You're going to pre-sell the deal to your buyers before you get under contract. So here's how it works. You find a motivated seller that has a property that matches your buyer's criteria. Then you negotiate, you fact find, you make sure the property actually matches, and then you don't sign anything just yet. Instead, you package up all the deal's details and you send that to your buyer, excluding the property address if you don't trust them, just so they won't go around you. You can protect yourself with a JV agreement, or you can just not give them the address, give them the general area and the details about the property. If they give you the green light, then you go lock it up. This way you know the deal's gonna get sold before you make the biggest commitment of the transaction, signing the contract. This is exactly how I made $4,000 on my first ever wholesale deal, and it was because I found a buyer in a Discord group who ended up becoming my mentor, but he was looking for creative financing deals. I went and I found someone who was willing to take a seller financing offer, and then I pre-sold the deal to him before I signed anything, and then after he gave me the green light, I locked it up. No stress, and the deal closed and I got wired my 4K. Step 7, contract structure and legal protection. When you get a property under contract, it's important that you have the right terms in place. The key contract elements to protect you and your buyer are as follows. First things first, you need to make sure the contract is assignable. If you do not have this, you can legally not sell that contract to your end buyer, which is the whole point of wholesaling. You can get around this by double closing, but there's more fees and it can be really complicated. Next, there needs to be a reasonable inspection period, normally 7 to 10 days. Next is having earnest money be about 1% or less of the purchase price. This is pretty typical, and I have seen earnest money all the way down to $100, so just try and negotiate it. But you can also negotiate having you sending EMD after the inspection period. This way you have no money up front. Next, you need to have a clear closing timeline that works for you and your buyer. And lastly, just clear verbiage that protects both parties. The assignment clause is absolutely critical. This is what allows you to assign that contract to your end buyer. Without this, you can't actually wholesale the deal. So some sellers will ask about this. You can just explain that you work with with a large group of investors and that you like to have the flexibility to bring in partners to the deal. Step 8, managing the transaction. Once you have a deal under contract and a locked-in buyer, your job becomes managing the transaction. These are some of your key responsibilities. Coordinating between the buyer, the seller, and the title company to make sure everything runs smoothly. Managing the inspection period and any issues that come up. Making sure to keep everyone updated on timeline and progress. Handling the assignment paperwork and making sure everything gets to the title company nice and clean. And of course, just making sure that closing happens smoothly. The key here is just communication and follow-ups. The reason that deals fall through most of the time is people just dropping the ball on communication. Step 9, the assignment process. So the assignment agreement is how you get paid. So here's exactly how it works. You have a contract to buy the property for a certain price. You then assign that contract to your end buyer at, let's say, $10,000 higher than what you had in a contract for. This is your spread, and that's how you're getting paid. The seller still gets exactly what they agreed to at the beginning. Let's say you and the seller had a contract for $90,000. After that, you assign that contract to your end buyer for $100,000. Then your end buyer at closing will wire in $100K to the title company. The seller gets the $90K, the buyer gets the house, and you get that $10,000 in between for bringing the opportunity. Assignment fees typically range from $5,000 to $25,000 depending on the deal size and complexity. Last step and the most exciting part, step 10, closing and getting paid. The title company handles everything on closing day, the seller gets their money, the buyer gets the house, and you get wired out your assignment fee directly to your bank account. The whole process from you finding the property to getting paid takes about 2 to 4 weeks, and that's just based on if your buyer has inspections or any financing requirements. So now that you understand the whole process, let me explain why secured wholesaling is the approach that works better and really gets these deals closed. The problems with the traditional approach of wholesaling is you're gambling to find a buyer, you don't even know if someone's going to buy, you waste your time on deals nobody wants, you get burnt out, the sellers get mad, and there's just a lot of high stress and uncertainty throughout the whole process. The advantage of the secured wholesaling approach is that you know the deal's going to get sold before you even sign anything. The sellers are way more calm throughout the transaction because you just have everything covered. You know, you're not wasting your time on any deals that don't work. You just have a way more predictable income and way less stress throughout the entire transaction. The reality is your buyer networks are your competitive advantage in this game. If you have a rich real estate investor who wants properties and you send them exactly what they're looking for, they want to work with you. You do not have to beg. So here are some common mistakes that kill wholesale deals. I'm gonna save you months of failure right here. Mistake number 1, not having real investors lined up. Random contacts in Facebook DMs are not real. You need to actually build a real relationship. And once you have that and you know they're good for closing, that counts as a buyer connection. Mistake 2, poor communication. If you don't let everyone know at all times where the transaction is at, people are gonna get scared and back out. This is how a lot of deals fall through. Mistake number 3, wrong contract terms. If you're missing out the correct verbiage or you have unrealistic timelines, that can kill deals quick. Mistake number 4, not understanding your numbers. If you do not leave enough room for you and your buyer, either you don't get paid or your buyer doesn't get paid, and no one's gonna wanna do that. Mistake number 5, no systems for managing transactions. If you don't have any processes in place to keep track of these leads, things are gonna slip through the cracks and you're gonna make mistakes. Relationships with serious investors that close consistently, consistent ways to find motivated sellers, proper agreements and title company relationships, different ways to keep everyone on the same page throughout the process, and lastly, understanding how to structure deals and solve problems. This is why having the right mentor in this game matters so much. It's not just about having the right tips, it's about having the right infrastructure to really close deals. So here's the outlook for scaling in this business. Now that you understand how a deal works, here's how you can go from 1 to 2 a month to 10 to 20 a month. Months 1 through 3 are just going to be mastering the process. Here you should be aiming to close 1 to 2 deals a month and just building up your buyers' relationships. Months 4 to 6, you're going to add systems. You're going to do paid lead gen, you're going to invest in VAs, and just better processes overall that will allow you to scale. Months 7 to 12, you're going to add in acquisition managers, transaction coordinators, and expand your buyer's network like crazy. The key here is reinvesting your profits back into the business. Every deal closed takes you a step closer to that next level of growth. So that's exactly how a wholesale deal closes from start to finish. You've now seen the entire process and you understand the back end and why most wholesalers fail while others are constantly closing deals. The key takeaway here is that wholesaling is not about getting lucky or finding some magic deal. It's about having the right systems, the right relationships, and the right approach. It's the same process that's helped my students like JJ close 10 deals before he turned 18 years old, and people like Rosalie with 3 contracts that are going to be $10,000 assignment fees each. Now, what are the next steps? You can absolutely take all this information and go build a wholesaling empire on your own. I would absolutely love to see that, but the raw reality is that's harder said than done. Building buyer relationships does take time. Learning how to structure the correct deals does take a lot of practice, and learning how to manage transactions and talk to all these high up people does take a lot of skill. That's why me and my partners built Real Venture. We give you step-by-step guidance throughout the entire process, access to our deep pocket investors, and we do everything in our power to make sure you get your first deal closed. If you're serious about learning how wholesale deals actually work and you want the same systems, buyers, and processes that I use to close deals on a consistent basis, there's a link in the description of this video that you can fill out. And if you're interested, I will call you within the day to see if we'd be a good fit. I'm not here to waste your time. I'm here to explain how this business actually works and how you can start closing deals from month one. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start following a proven system that has worked for me and countless others, fill out the form and we'll get you that first deal. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more wholesaling content. I'm breaking down how wholesaling actually works, not just some guru bullshit. I'll see you in the next video.